Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and my name is Nara. Here we're talking all things astrology, spirituality, and mysticism. And this particular video is about Aquarius, sun and rising. And just, all of the details, cool stuff about Aquarius that, is not mainstream or talked about a lot. So before we jump into interpreting Aquarius, I want to analyze the planet that rules Aquarius, which is Uranus. And just a side note, when it comes to zodiac sign and how we interpret them, I want you guys to, so zodiac signs will be interpreted in adjectives, if that makes any sense, and the planet will be interpreted as a verb. So let's go into Aquarius, right? So Uranus rules Aquarius. So what is Uranus? Uranus is a very, very extraordinary planet. First things first. You probably heard that Aquarius is not conventional in thinking, which stems from Uranus. Uranus makes Aquarius very unique when it comes to thinking and when it comes to consciousness. So Uranus is a planet that is very innovative, that is related to, technology, that is related to something that's not created yet, okay? And Uranus thinks outside of the box. Uranus does not go with the current. It's my cat, hello my cat. So Uranus does not think like mainstream. Uranus thinks outside of the box. Nobody gets Uranus, okay? Nobody gets Uranus the same way nobody gets Aquarius, right? So Uranus is a planet, like the mythical story about it, which will freaking make a lot of sense why Aquarius is struggling in life. I think Aquariuses do struggle in life. They are very, very brilliant people, but nobody gets them. They can be loners, and they actually enjoy that. And let me explain to you why I really want to jump into the mythical story about Uranus, which is not talked about a lot. I mentioned, part of the story that I'm going to tell you here in my video about Venus in the 12th house, Libra in the 12th, or Taurus in the 12th. So Venus represents the Aphrodite, right? And how was Aphrodite born? Aphrodite was born out of Saturn, and Uranus fight. And those mythical stories really crack me up. Like, they just don't make sense in this world, but we'll just roll with it. Uranus was married to Gaia, the Mother Earth. So they conceived children, but they turned out to be monsters, okay? And Uranus didn't like the children that Gaia produced, or they both produced, right? So since it was his initial idea to create, another living organism, make children, it was his original idea. It wasn't done at that time, because Uranus is very out of the box, right? Thinking out of the box. So he came up with the idea, but he did not like the fruits that came with that idea, okay? He did not like the manifestation of that idea on the physical. And what he decided to do, he decided to bury his children because they look like monsters, titans. He didn't like them. So he buried his children, right? And then one child remained alive, which was Saturn. And let's just go a little into interpretation and characteristics of the Saturn for a little bit. So Saturn is a disciplinarian. It will kick your butt. It will for real kick your butt. It's something that we have to discipline ourselves for in order to get what we want. So we know that if we want to grow a business, we're not going to grow a business if we don't discipline ourselves and don't come up with a plan, right? So that's Saturn, and it likes to comply with the social norms that are currently going. But when it comes to Uranus, it doesn't like that. Even though Saturn was his child, still their thinking was so different. So what Saturn decided to do? Saturn decided to kick butt of Uranus, his own father, and they got in a fight. So obviously Uranus, his father, was, you know, literally destroyed by Saturn, and, you know, some of his sperm was cast into the sea, from which Aphrodite, Venus, was born. So that's the story. However, I want you to pay attention to that myth because it tells you a lot about Aquarius. So see, Aquarius cannot stand the current and the norm and the way things are done by the majority of people. Aquarius wants to do things differently, okay? It likes to create its own thinking, its own ideas. And why? Because natural house of Aquarius is the 11th house. And the 11th house is pretty much like, it's like towards the end, right? Because the 12th house is the last one, so it's closer to God. So the 11th house is the social house, but in that house, not everybody can be taken in, okay? Because Aquarius thinking is so different from other people that he will only resonate, or she will only resonate with a few. And that's why they belong in the 11th house and not in the 3rd house, like Gemini, you know, can talk with anybody about whatever. Aquarius won't be able to do that, okay? Then the 7th house of Libra, which is, you know, communication based on reaction, you know, between the loved ones. You know, they react to what I said, I respond, then they react, then they respond. So it goes back and forth. But when it comes to Aquarius communication, because mind you, they're all air signs, but they're very different in the way they communicate and what kind of style in communication they have. So Aquarius thinks outside of the box because it's closer to God, okay? It's the 11th house. Not everybody understands them, okay? Not everybody. They sometimes themselves do not understand themselves, okay? These people do not understand themselves sometimes either. So yeah, so I just wanted to, you know, mention that part, but let's go back to Uranus. So Uranus created that idea because he didn't like the norm that everybody was living, you know, according to the myth. And he created an idea to give birth to these children, but then he got disappointed with his own manifestation. So and then he destroyed them, right? He buried them back into the soil. So what does it tell us? Aquarius tends to create his own or her own thinking and follow it, regardless of what other people say or think about it. However, a lot of the times they get disappointed in the fruits that it brings, the idea brings to them. And then they have to create a new idea and then create a new idea until something hits. Another part of it, and then another part of it. So Uranus, you know, tends to oppose other people and the social norms and the current, or just like norms of behavior, and comes up with something on its own, on his own thinking, okay? And when this happens, a lot of people don't like it. And in mythical story, we can see that as well. It gave birth to Furies, which is the self-doubt, which is the aggression, which is the, you know, imposter syndrome and stuff like that, and being alienated from society. So, you know, a lot of people don't understand Aquarius, and, you know, even in mythical story, you know, when people did not understand Uranus, why he killed his children, why he killed his own idea, right? Nobody understood that, which spurred a reaction out of the society. It stirred a reaction out of society in a negative way. So everybody started to criticize Uranus for his ideas, which made Uranus very detached and cold from other people. So this is the mythical story about Aquarius. Another way it can manifest in our lives, like if you're an Aquarius, for instance, you come up with your own thinking, right? You come up with your own strategies, with your own beliefs, with your own ways of thinking, ways of doing things, approaching life and stuff like that, right? And then when you share those ideas with other people, they tend to reject because they are not on the same wavelength with Aquarius. They're not aligned in thinking, and that's why Aquarius gets criticized by other people for their ideas, okay, which can manifest Furies from the mythical story. And what is Furies? It can either create the self-doubt and imposter syndrome and just, you thinking you're not good enough. Or it can be the opposite. It can be that other people think that you're just weird, which is the case for Aquarius for the most part, right? That he's so weird or she's so weird. Oh, like I rather stay away from these people. Like I do not connect. I don't understand what language they speak, right? So that's how it can manifest as well. So the society may neglect you or criticize you, but you'll be like, you know what? I don't really care. Like I will keep doing what I think is best for me, even if 99.9% does not agree with that. So this is Aquarius. That's why Aquarius is a little bit harder to read. For Aquarius is to be understood by other people gotta know the context that the Aquarians are relating to. So it's really, really challenging for other people to understand Aquarius because their thinking is out of the context. So for you, if you want to connect with other people better as an Aquarius and you're struggling with that, it's actually good to, before you even communicate and your ideas and your perceptions of the world or your belief system, you got to put it in a context first, because that allows other people to understand it better. Even if you look at the that sign, the way it's drawn, it goes in two, right? Aquarius. Why? Because it's not straightforward, because nobody will get them, and they transform easily. Only out of self-conviction. They will never transform or change themselves if somebody tells them to change. That's another thing. Only they will change for the sake of changing, because they thrive on innovation, transformation, doing something new, approaching life in a new way. And they will never be bored or tired of recreating their thinking, okay? And Uranus drives them to be different in thinking. And these people can literally be in their heads about how should I differ from society, literally. If they have certain belief system and it doesn't really differentiate them from the society, they will be in constant work about distinguishing themselves from society by coming up with new beliefs, by coming up with new ways of thinking, by coming up with new perceptions and new assumptions of life. So this is Aquarius, right? But I did want to also touch upon, other aspects of Aquarius. So another thing we can talk about is the fixed nature of a sign of Aquarius. So, it's a fixed sign, just like a Leo, and they have similarities, but in different ways, if that makes sense. So it's a fixed sign, meaning it's really hard for a Aquarius to change their thinking based on what other people want. So they can, like I said, they can only change their thinking if they think they need to change the thinking. So if somebody thinks that, I think your ideas are not correct, Aquarius, disregard that. They will just detach themselves from those people. It's like, you don't agree with me? Well, who cares? And they just, escape into themselves, into their minds, and keep thinking of new innovative ideas. And since it's a communication planet, however, it doesn't really vibe with everybody in terms of communication, and Aquarius can't really connect with just anybody and everybody, like for instance Gemini or Libra, because of that individuality and that out of the box thinking, and that strive to think out of the box. So Aquarius people tend not to have a lot of friends, let me just put it this way, because not everybody agrees with what they say, with what they believe in. And how it's different from Libra and Gemini. So let's say, like I said, Gemini is communication on a very mundane level, on a like the simplest form of communication you can possibly find. It's like, hey, how are you? Good. How's weather? This type of communication. When it comes to Libra, it's a communication with a partner based on reactions. It's like Libra goes, okay, let me say this, let's see how they react. Oh, they react this, then I will respond differently. Let me respond like this, let's see how they react, or how I react. Basically, it's the communication back and forth based on reactions. What about Aquarius? Aquarius wants to stand out in his thinking by shaking up the norm, by creating something new, okay? Because Uranus created actually nature, which was, in mythical terms and according to the myth, was very outside of the box at that time. Like trees and all of that, because we didn't have all of that. And according to the myth, Uranus created the nature. And it was outside of the box as well, according to the myth. So going back to Aquarius, their thinking is so unique that these people, they can't even trust with their ideas with everybody, okay? These people literally find their own circle, and it's usually a very small circle of people. It finds its own circle of people who share the same ideas, who are like-minded, and they connect, okay? Whereas the society looks at them and thinks, what a bunch of weirdos, like, what are they talking about? The perfect example would be is Elon Musk. I don't know whether he's Aquarius rising or not, because we don't know his exact time of birth. I looked at astro.com to see that, but he ain't got that online. But you see how he thinks, right? You see how his thinking process happens. He wants to go to space. He's investing in space. Who does that, right? Like, the majority of people are struggling to pay their rent. He's thinking of space. Nobody gets him, right? Or other billionaires are worried about Wall Street, but he's worried about space. So this kind of thinking, right? Out of the box, very, very high in consciousness. Not everybody agrees with them, but those who agree will actually help Aquarius to go and shake things up and achieve whatever the heck they want to achieve. So it's very, very much resembling of Elon Musk. It's very similar to Elon Musk. And based on how he behaves, it looks like he's a Aquarius rising, like 80%, I would say, 80%. Okay. So another thing, also, the communication that Aquarius have is like on, let's say this, on a certain language. Let's say, like IT people, the software engineers, when they connect to other software engineers, they speak of like codes and like certain like algorithms or whatever that's called. I'm not an engineer, okay? So, but you get the point. So that's exactly how Aquarius communicates. That's why a lot of people don't get them, okay? Because like they speak their own language, which not everybody understands. And yeah, it's just, yeah, very funny. very important, it's a fixed sign similar to Leo, but different from Leo. They're similar in the approach, but not in terms of areas of life, if that makes any sense. For example, Leo is very like prideful sign, right? And why is it, what is it prideful for, over? Why is Leo prideful? Leo is prideful over the shit that it has, over the fame that it has, over himself, that he's the best, you know? He's like the most authentic version, and he's just obsessed with himself. They're just obsessed with themselves. Leos are obsessed with themselves, and the fact that they accept themselves so much, and they think that everybody else should accept them too. And even if other people don't accept Leos, they don't give a shoot. They say like, you know what, you don't accept me, I'm still great. But the same happens with Aquarius, but when it comes to his ideas, their ideas, okay, or thinking or mental process. So it takes a lot of pride in that. It really like Aquarius is very proud of himself because of the fact that they are thinking outside of the box, that they do not go with the current, that they are different, and they actually strive to be different. Okay, they like to break social norms, they like to create something new. Whereas like you see people, they don't see what Aquarius sees. People only see this reality, this objective reality. But when it comes to Aquarius thinks outside of this reality, which not like related to something that hasn't been invented yet, and it thinks about those inventions just the same way as Uranus created the Earth, right? You know, the nature, which was outside of the box. So the same way an Aquarius person thinks outside of the box in order to bring something innovative into the society that will shake up the current norm. So that's why Aquarius are very much misunderstood by other people, and they're great people. Once they find the people they connect with who are like-minded, they thrive on those connections. So as an Aquarius, I'm not Aquarius, but as an Aquarius, I would suggest you guys to take pride in your thinking, take pride in the way, you know, your thinking process happens, in the way you make decisions, in the way, like, your belief system, just, you know, the way you think life should be, okay? And do not listen to other people, because it may potentially bring out Furies, okay? Bring out Furies, which is doubt and then self-hatred. So do not do that, okay? One more aspect about Aquarius and the fixed nature of it, just like a Leo, is the fact that, so for instance, Leo is also a fixed sign, just like an Aquarius is, but a Leo is fixed in its identity, meaning that it only like wants authority, and it is authoritarian. But when it comes to Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius tends to reject authority. So for Aquarius, authority just doesn't exist. And that's the main difference between the fixed Leo and the fixed Aquarius. Thing, you know, I want to talk about the first house. I know this video is going to be hella long, but who cares? It's cool stuff, information. So when it comes to the first house of Aquarius, if you're Aquarius rising or you happen to have Uranus in the first house, it can be like, you can be rising Capricorn with a Uranus in the first house, it will affect you similarly, okay? So it doesn't matter the sign of your rising. If you have Uranus, you have a big impact on your personality from Uranus characteristics. So Uranus in the first house or Aquarius in the first house, let's talk about how they present themselves into the world. They are friendly. They're not like cold or detached like other people say, but they still are. Like, they're very dubious. They're not one way or the other way. They're both ways. Because see, Aquarius symbol goes like this. It's two. So it's one way and the other way at the same time. So when Aquarius presents themselves to the public, they're very friendly. They, you know, you can look at these people and think that they're very communicative. However, once they open their mouth, Aquarius rising, other people get shocked, like, oh my gosh, you look like this. But what comes out of your mouth is completely freaking different. Damn, I don't even understand what you're talking about. Okay, so that's the first house. Because like I said, they see things that nobody sees. And that's the beauty of Aquarius. And if you're an Aquarius who is doubting their thinking, please stop. You're so unique. Keep that going. Keep that going. You know, other people will conform with you, will comply with you, will agree with you. And if they don't, you don't need them anyways. Keep thinking the way you want to think, okay? Just like my input. So what else can we say about the first house? In terms of like the appearance, they have tend to have very wide, like square shaped face. They have very prominent cheekbones and very wide, just like Johnny Depp kind of thing. They have like very prominent ears, like similar to Elon Musk face. Yeah, they have prominent ears. I'm not sure if he has like very well-defined ears or they're like, you know, sticking out. I don't know. But so the Aquarius ears tend to be like this. Let me show you. Aquarius rising. So that's like one of the biggest aspects of appearance when it comes to appearance. One of the biggest features of Aquarius appearance is the ears. Like they stick out like that. So if you see people with ears like that, like you can honestly say that probably they're Aquarius rising. We can speculate always, right? Well, the first house Aquarius are people that usually invent something new. And people with, you know, examples of people who actually invented something new, it's like a lot of them who had Uranus in Aquarius in the first house or Aquarius rising. For example, Nikola Tesla, he was a Capricorn rising, but he had a Uranus in the first house, and he was the one who created electricity, right? He was the first one. And yeah, so there's a bunch of examples like that of people who have you know, Uranus in the first house, and they created something new. They created like you know, like a telephone system. I don't remember all of those guys' names, the scientists, but one of them that strikes me the most is Nikola Tesla, a Yugoslavian scientist. He literally challenged the norm, but he didn't get enough credit for the fact that he created that, you know, innovation because of other things, you know, power games in science as well, which I think Thomas Edison took his credit for that. I don't remember, I think so. But you get the point, you know, like those people, they shake the entire norm up. And they create something outside of the box that never been even thought of. So this is Nikola Tesla. That's why please guard your mental, guard your thinking process, your mind, the way you think. You have to treasure it. Aquarius people, they're not like other people, okay? And even if you're not Aquarius rising, but you're an Aquarius sun, I highly recommend you guys to look at where your sun is placed, like in what house, and reading about that house a little bit, and then combining all of the meanings and interpretations together, like sign, planet, and a house. So if you're Aquarius, let's say in the 8th house, you will be very the house where your Aquarius is in will have, the house is the area of your life, right? So that area of your life will carry those characteristics that I mentioned, like innovative nature, thinking outside of the box, creating something new, not connecting with other people very well because nobody gets them. So in that area of your life might be, maybe it's your workplace, and that's how other people will perceive you. Maybe it's your love life. Maybe you approach life in a different way, you know, and not like other people do. So it's very, very consistent with Aquarius, I would say. So when it comes to, you know, rising signs, the way they present themselves, Aquarius people rising, they present themselves as very like mentally detached. They're not physically, they may not physically be detached. They may be mentally detached. They always keep themselves, they always keep that space, okay, between others and them, mentally especially. They don't like other people getting into their mental. So even if they're like out and about, they're still kind of detached mentally, okay? And they have a tendency to ghost people, not block. Even block maybe too. It's like worst case scenario, it's a fixed sign. They don't usually like change that easily, you know, in their thinking for them to block, for them to come with that idea to block a person. Unlike Capricorn, which is a cardinal sign ruled by Saturn. I was like, oh, I ain't got time for that shit, BS, block, right? Aquarius, no. Aquarius will rather ghost for like a week or a month or 2 or 3, who knows, maybe years. And then pop up out of nowhere as if nothing happened. Like, oh my gosh, this is what I was doing. Out of nowhere, literally. And the other person like, hello? Like, I haven't heard from you in a year. But Aquarius don't care because, you know, they actually need space to process that. And then other aspect of Aquarius in the first house rising, or Uranus in the first. If Uranus in the first house or other aspects, or other planet in the first house in Aquarius is aspected badly, like difficultly, with squares and oppositions, that would mean that that person will be just like constantly challenging the society by thinking differently. And they will be like obsessed. They will have that obsession to change their thinking and be different just for the sake of it. Sometimes they don't even have like real motivations to do what they are doing just for the sake of it. Just because Uranus is pushing them constantly, and difficult aspects create that tension in a person to think this way and not the other way. So yeah, it was very interesting to dive into Aquarius. I hope you guys liked it. Please let me know in the comment section below what you think. If you're an Aquarius rising, moon, or even moon, you know, or sun, doesn't matter. I would love to hear your stories. And if you are familiar with the house systems and know what area of your life has the most Aquarian energy and Uranus energy, please interpret that for me in the comment section. I would love to hear your interpretations. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope to see you in my next video. Love y'all.